Let me ask you something. When you hear that people should get around 8 hours of sleep every night, what do you actually picture? Because that number gets thrown around all the time. But I analyzed real sleep data, and in the dataset, the average recorded sleep duration was around 5.2 hours. And that average, it hides a lot of what actually matters. In fact, the deeper I went into the data, the more obvious it became that one number can completely distort reality. And now I'm going to show you exactly why. Welcome to Learn Data Easy, the series where we break down data, cloud, and AI concepts without jargon and without stress. I'm Charlene, I work in data and AI. Today we're looking at real sleep data, not a textbook example. Not something I made up, but real records from real people. So actual sleep time, time in bed, sleep efficiency, and other sleep metrics. And the goal here is not medical advice. This is a data lesson, because one of the biggest mistakes people make with data is trusting a single average without looking underneath. And honestly, this is one of the biggest reasons dashboards can become misleading. People look at the headline number and will stop. So let's start with the number everyone reaches for, the average. I ran the data. The average sleep duration in the dataset was 5.22 hours. But the median was 5.43 hours. Now those numbers are close, but they are not the same. And that difference matters, because the mean gets pulled around by unusually low or unusually high values. The median is more stable. A simple way to remember this is the mean follows the outliers. The median mostly ignores them. Neither one is wrong, but they tell you different things. And already we've learned something important. The average is useful, but it is not the whole story. So if the average isn't the whole story, what is? The distribution. And that's where the real picture lives. Look at this. The data is not neatly clustered around 8 hours. It is spread out. Some records are much lower. Some are higher. And the average is just 1 point on the chart. And by itself, it tells you almost nothing about the shape of the data. This applies everywhere. Average salary, average house price, average customer spend, average revenue per user. One number can make messy behavior look clean. But people are not averages. You know what I mean. And this leads to something I think is really important. How many sleep records in this dataset are actually close to the average? And I define close as within 15 minutes. So within 0.25 hours of the mean. The answer? Very few. The average exists, but the average person does not. That is such an important data lesson, because when we reduce a dataset to one number, we accidentally erase all the variation that makes the data useful. The average might be technically correct, but it's still misleading. The good news is you only need a few key concepts to start thinking much more clearly about data. And we're already building them. Now let's talk about the values sitting at the edges. The unusually low or unusually high records. These are outliers, and a lot of people assume outliers are mistakes. Just delete them. But that's not always the right move. An outlier could be a tracker issue, travel, interrupted sleep, device problems, or generally unusual behavior. A good analyst investigates unusual values. They do not automatically delete them, because outliers pull the average. And if you ignore them completely, your headline number can drift away from reality. If this is already changing how you think about averages, hit subscribe, because honestly, this is the kind of thing most people never question. And let's keep learning data the easy way. Now, here's something the average sleep duration doesn't capture at all. Being in bed for 8 hours does not mean you've slept for 8 hours. This is where sleep efficiency comes in. Sleep efficiency is the ratio between the actual sleep time and the time actually spent in bed. So someone in bed for 8 hours but sleeping 6.5 hours, that's lower efficiency. Someone in bed for 7 hours but sleeping most of it, that's higher efficiency. Check out this sleep efficiency histogram. In this dataset, the average sleep efficiency was around 0.84. The median was around 0.85. And that 85% line, that's a commonly used benchmark. Now notice what just happened. The moment we changed the metric, the story changed too. And this is another huge data lesson. The metric you choose shapes the conclusion you reach. Looking at sleep efficiency tells us something sleep duration alone completely misses. And this is where it all comes together. Look at these two records. At first glance, they sound similar. Both were in bed for around 8 hours. But underneath, completely different reality. One person slept inefficiently. The other person slept much more cleanly. Same headline number, different story. And this happens everywhere in analytics. Two customers spend the same amount of money but behave completely differently. Two products have the same rating but very different complaint patterns. Two teams hit the same KPI in completely different ways. The number is not the story. The number is where the story starts. Now, a quick but important note, this is observational data. We are looking at patterns in real-world records, not a controlled experiment. So this dataset could not tell you exactly how much sleep you personally need, or why some nights are worse than other nights, or medical conclusions about sleep. And that's okay, because the point of this video is not medical advice. The point is learning how to think about data. So let's recap the big lessons. The average is useful, but it hides the shape of the data. The mean and median can tell different stories. Outliers matter. The metric you choose changes the conclusion you reach. And if you only look at one number, you can completely misunderstand reality. That is why good analysts do not stop at averages. They look underneath. They investigate in distributions. They question the metric. And they ask, what is the number hiding? If this has helped you understand data a little more clearly, subscribe to Learn Data Easy, and let's keep learning data the easy way. See you next time.